We wanted to create a short film that would have a deeper meaning behind the story and with something that could be taken away after viewing. We initially had a few ideas that revolved around life values like not judging a book by its cover and like general human decency. But after some discussions, we concluded on the current one, which revolves around the value of never giving up.
This story is about a Malaysian footballer who got into a major accident and lost his dominant foot, and how he's coping and handling the situation. I feel like this story has a few strong messages that can be easily understood.
For example, moving on and not dwelling on the past too much, and the fact that there is always a light at the end of the tunnel.
During the pre-production phase, everything was smooth sailing. Whilst creating the concept art, we decided that since the story was set in Malaysia, having characters from all ethnicities would be good. As such, we created them with that in mind. Each character would require unique characteristics as well so that the audience would be able to distinguish them at first glance. There were some challenges designing the characters as they're all from different ethnic backgrounds. So I did research for them before designing them. For example, Amiru would be fitter and have more distinguished leg muscles, while the little kid would appear more bubbly and innocent.
Our team consisted of more animators as opposed to modelers.
Thankfully, a few of our members pulled extra weight and handled everything smoothly.
As such, our animators had a lot more on their plate, and I'm very grateful for their aid and willingness to help. Our story required a considerate number of characters and different environments to create. Furthermore, the scenes were also quite heavy and required extra computing power, which most of the team didn't have at the time of production. Due to that issue, we had to be smart about optimization, as well as putting the college's computing devices to use whenever we could. However, with good planning and everyone's hard work, we managed to pull it off.
We took the lack of modelers into account when designing so that everything would be optimized. For example, we had scenes where it would just mostly be a ground, a light source, and fog, and that was it. There was some debate as whether 4 characters would be too much, but in the end the designs were simple and recognizable. Not a lot of detail was lost as well, so that was definitely a plus.
Having decided that our background would have more realistic texture, it was smooth sailing for environment props and so on.
However, the character textures required trial and error to perfect their subsurface scattering, as well as the look of each character with their different skin pigmentations. Using XGen in Maya is like playing heads or tails of a coin. Sometimes it will work and I'll be able to work efficiently and create the hair without worry. However, sometimes there will be issues that will require a complete restart, or sometimes an overhaul of the project file. With that in mind, I did research and understood where the errors came from and avoided them completely, giving me a smoother workflow and cleaner results. Another thing to consider was each character's hair characteristics, with some of them having slightly thicker and curlier hair. It was a fun process as it wasn't something I had done before, and I am quite happy with the results.
Before we went into rigging, we had a discussion and decided that it would be beneficial to use plugin for our facial part, as it allowed the animators to start their job quicker and could bring out their agents for the animation part. A big obstacle for all the riggers was the penway portion. It was a long and tedious progress and just as important as the rest. Because if it wasn't done properly, the animation would look very odd at the joints.
One of the scenes required a simulation. As the team didn't have a VFX artist, I took it upon myself and watched a few tutorials to get a general idea of what to do. The blocking stage was relatively simple, but when it reached the refinements, that took a lot of work. As with each different setting, the outcomes would look drastically different. Furthermore, when I scaled up to real size, the simulation times took even longer, slowing down the process quite a bit, but in the end it was definitely worth it.
For the 3D animation, with our main responsibility to bring out our story to life, the schedule was tighter than other parts for the project. We first created a rough pose and keyframe for establishing the timing and spacing for each scene, before we adding more details, facial expression, and secondary animation to make the character more alive.
Animation is also important in bringing out the characteristics of a character, hence making them look more natural and believable. We were constantly studying real-life references and paid attention to details like weight, timing, and spacing. Sometimes we have different perspectives on how our characters should move or act in certain shots. But with effective communication, we were all able to agree on the same solution. Furthermore, a very huge problem we faced while having to do the animations, doing the lip syncs using placeholders before we could get the actual ones.
Another aspect of making the characters feel real and lifelike was the hair movements. By analyzing real-life footage, I realized that hair doesn't always move in one big clump, and thus required more time and effort to ensure it all flows nicely. Voice acting is an essential aspect of bringing our animated characters to life. This was our first time providing voiceovers for our work, and it was a really exciting process. This required a unique set of skills, as it was not only about bringing the voices to convey emotions, but the personalities of the characters and the stories behind them.
They also had to ensure that their tones align with the overall style and mood of our animations. Additionally, they used body movements and gestures to greatly enhance their voice act, as our audiences won't be seeing them. Physicality can greatly impact the quality and believability of voice performances, so they incorporated those elements inside wherever they see possible. Sometimes the lack of visual cues or context made it hard for them to voice act, as they were solely relying on their voices to convey actions and emotions. But they all worked close, asked for feedback, and made adjustments as needed to ensure that their tones align with the intended version of our animation.
Of course, after recording, there should be editing.
Using Adobe Audition, I did some editing such as pitch shifting, timing adjustment, adding reverbs, and inserted vocal distortions to further tune the voices to fit the characters and the scene. Besides that, I was also tasked with creating and acquiring Foley sounds, such as footsteps, door creaks, and even the car crash sounds. These were crucial, as without it, the film's immersion would be lost and be less believable. In a film, audio mixing to balance out the scene's audio is quite important.
When setting out light for the scene, we have to gather a lot of reference to properly set out the mood and tone for the scene. Seeing the light faces move toward its final outcome made it enjoyable to do. As lighting and rendering almost got hand in hand, there are some scenes that failed to render, and you had to quickly get on it, because each situation requires different solutions.
Furthermore, we decided to use an environmental filmmaking technique called make painting for the backgrounds. It was mainly used for outdoor landscapes in our animations.
It was a fun change of pace from having everything being done in 3D. The process also required tons of reference material, as I had to place the buildings and hills in a realistic way, as well as the depth of the buildings, with things further away having less detail and being lighter in color.
When editing, it was important to study references to ensure that the cuts and edits would be as seamless as possible. Not only that, but enhancing our footage was key to solidifying the tone and mood of the scene. Added effects, such as camera shakes and tonal value adjustments during this phase, also allowed us to control and create a specific feel to the scenes with more precision and speed. Paying close attention to matching the audio cues and voice acting also ensured that the viewer's immersion wouldn't be interrupted.
We hope that you enjoyed the short film as much as we had making it, and that the message was conveyed clearly to everyone. That's all from us. Thank you, and goodbye.